Oh, we're back.
Yes.
How exciting is this for another week?
Very exciting.
It's podcast number 2, of course, here at home with Yarra Ranges Life TV. We had a really good response with our first podcast. It generated over 1,600 views, and we thought we'd come back and keep the whole podcast vibe going. Nice, casual, candid chat, of course, with the Yarra Ranges Life TV crew. And guess what, guys?
What's that?
We've got a very special guest joining us this week.
We do.
Yeah.
Tony Stevenson.
Really?
Yarra Ranges Council
I
Mayor.
didn't know.
Yeah, he's going to come and join us this week and have a bit of a casual chat about what it means to be mayor, what's involved in looking after one of the largest municipalities in Victoria, of course. Interesting challenge that the guys there at Yarra Ranges Council face. So
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
So we've got the mayor coming up as well. So stick around for that. But of course, it's time for some casual banter. I mean, how was your weekend?
Yeah, good.
Yeah?
My mum's visiting from interstate, so it's good to have her around.
Hi, Catherine.
Yeah, she'll be there for the filming of the news tomorrow.
Yeah, well, you said that she was going to come today.
Oh yeah, no, she's staying home today, but she'll be there tomorrow to be a production assistant as always when she's down.
I love when your mum's on set.
Yeah, she's good.
She fusses over every little detail. The
She
hairs.
helps me get my hair in place and
Makeup artist.
Yeah.
Yep. Makeup, hair, wardrobe, you name it.
And
It's
critic.
nice. Yeah, she can be a little bit critical, but it's all for a good cause.
But that's mum.
Yeah.
you
What
know.
was the funniest comment she's ever said to you? Like,
Oh, I recently dyed my hair,
Yep.
as you know.
Yep.
And it was actually supposed to be light brown, but it went black. It's pretty much black.
Oh,
And
What did you say? You
I
said
sent her a photo of it.
you said you went emo.
No,
sorry.
Yeah, well, I hope not. But yeah, I sent her a photo of it, and she said, I hate it. But she thought it was because I was using an app to change my hair.
Oh.
She's like, I hate it. Why would you like that? And I'm like, well, it's too late now, Mum. I've already done it. So, yeah.
So poor mum didn't realise that was actually, you'd already coloured your hair
Yeah,
and you thought
yes.
playing funny buggers with
But
photos.
at least she's honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't, of course you want to have honesty from your mum,
Yeah, that's it.
And I'm sure she still loves you.
Oh, she does. Yeah, she's a good egg.
Yeah.
She's a good egg.
And what have you been up to on the weekend?
what do we do?
Oh, we had a busy one on Saturdays.
Yeah. Saturday was busy. Sunday was taking June to the airport. So June went back to Chongqing, went home. Went to see her niece. So the brother's wife's just had a baby daughter. So
Okay. Congratulations.
yeah, so-
And you arrival to the family.
arrival to that family. Yeah,
To that family.
I suppose it is part of.
Part of your
is it part
extended
of my
family
family
now?
though? 'Cause
Well, not
it's-
yet. Not
No.
yet. Because you haven't put a ring on that finger yet, Dan.
Yeah, no. Soon.
Yeah.
Soon. Yeah.
Hopefully June's not watching.
I have a plan, so I just have to. But I mean, what happens to you? I mean, this is the thing. I mean, you guys, you might know. I mean, when you're going to go for an engagement ring, does the boyfriend go and buy, or do they buy it together?
No,
'Cause
I think the
what
boyfriend
happens-
buys it. I think the boyfriend
But what
buys
happens if the
it.
girlfriend doesn't like it?
Too bad.
Well, then
Okay.
you hold on to the receipt,
Okay.
and then afterwards you go together and go, okay, hon, what would you like? And
Yeah,
then you,
'cause
and you
I-
pray to God that it's not something that's about 10 grand.
Yeah,
or
because
something.
I've always been like presents. Like I always like to when it's June's birthday, I will like, what would you like? Because you don't want to give her like socks or something bad. You want her to choose what the present is, but then it kind of feels like it's not really a present. It's more like
You already know what you're getting.
yeah.
So
So it's kind
it
of
should be a surprise, I think. It's more personal that way.
Yeah. Well, last time it was actually a surprise birthday party. So I got all of our friends to come around, and she was like, I think she went. Where did she go? She went somewhere in the day, and then she came back, and we had all our friends surprise her.
Oh.
And she was like crying, and she was like, it was so good. So
That's gorgeous. Yeah, we actually Mum and I took June out for dinner on Saturday night.
It's all about June.
Yeah.
It's all about June. We
Yeah.
love June.
but Chinese.
Chinese, yeah, but it was terrible.
Oh,
I'm so embarrassed about it, actually.
Don't you know that the number one golden rule is you don't take Chinese people to Chinese restaurants.
That was a rookie
You don't take
error.
Italians to Italian restaurants.
Yep.
You don't take Greeks to Greek
know,
restaurants.
I know.
The cooking's not so good as Mama makes.
I
You know.
Do you want to give a shout out to the Chinese restaurant?
No, probably shouldn't. I don't want to get done for defamation.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
But yeah, I
It'd be me
left,
copping
I
that.
left them a negative review because
Oh.
because I want them to improve, and
Yeah.
it was shocking. It was really
Oh,
shocking.
okay.
So I feel a bit bad for June. Sorry, June.
Now, the question I've got for you guys, if we were to have the mayor join us here at home on Yarra Ranges Live TV, what's the number one question that you would ask him?
Well, shouldn't we save that for when we're sitting down with him?
Well, I'm just curious because...
I would ask him, so I did think about this.
yeah,
I would ask him, is he a Commodore 64 or an Amiga 500 user?
that's a good question.
That's a good question,
Yes,
yeah.
because we'll ask him about his background, because
Yes.
I reckon that's a very relevant question for
Yes.
his background. How about you? What are you going to ask Tony?
Well, I want to know about, like, what happens when you're in there? Like, do you have the key to the city? Like,
Or just like going to
what
anyone's
power-
house and like...
how much power do you hold? That's what I want to know.
Good question. Well, shall we find out?
I think we should.
Look, let's invite, of course, to our couch here at home on Yarra Ranges Live TV. Please give it up for and make him feel very welcome, of course, Yarra Ranges Council Mayor, Councillor Tony Stevenson.
Welcome.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you very much for joining us, Tony,
Nice
on the
comfy
couch,
couch.
at home.
Yeah.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, I was sitting on the couch last week for our first podcast, and I was quite enjoying the comfort here in the studios at home at Yarra Ranges Live TV. Hey, thank you very much for spending some time with us. And
Oh, look, you're a good bunch. We see you out and about in the community, and you do good things. I see you constantly running from thing to thing. So, you know, I don't know quite how you do it, the amount of events you cover. So it's great. You get actually some time to sit on the couch and reflect and spend some time with each other. So
absolutely.
I like this.
Have a bit of a casual chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we might as well start with Karina, if you wanted to fling that question at
Yeah.
at
You got
Tony.
a cool
Well,
one for me, have you?
actually, sorry, to begin with, hang on, just to explain for our viewers, of course, just a little bit about your background, because we first met you when we did some segments for our Meet Your Councillor playlist. I think it was early 2017 that we first had a chat with yourself. You were recently elected councillor for, and I'm embarrassed, I've forgotten.
Chandler Ward?
It is Chandler Ward, I was going to say Chandler Ward. Chandler Ward, of course, is the patch of the Yarra Ranges that you look after. Of course, we had an interview, we spoke about aspirations and things that you might like to achieve. And your background before becoming a councillor, it's an IT background, isn't it?
Yeah, business background. So I've worked in IT for 30 years. And just an opportunity, a time of life. We probably haven't seen as much change in technology in that 30-year period than we'd seen for centuries, really. Probably 3 revolutions. You went from having to use typewriters to using word processors, desktop publishing. You had online publishing, so that previously if you wanted to get a message out to community, you had to run around and stick things on notice boards. And that's all now online, and that's been revolutionary. And I guess the final one is probably photography and videography. You know, we're experiencing it right now. That with relatively inexpensive equipment, anyone with the right talent can produce shows like this and broadcast a message.
Absolutely.
Fortunately, you guys use your powers for good. Some are using them for evil. But yeah, so that's brings its own challenges. But yeah, so I've been involved in, I guess, that IT revolution and just seeing how things changed. I know when I was finishing up in high school, I broke one of my wrists playing football, and I couldn't write, so I had to use a typewriter. And that worked well. But then in a very short period of time after university, using that first computer, which was ginormous, and then very quickly computers that were quite small sitting on your desk, and so it goes. So I feel very fortunate to have been around at a time when so much has changed, and now my children just take it all for accepted. You get, you know, one of them will say, "Oh, Dad, it's not fair. You know, I haven't got the latest insert smartphone name here," and it's like, "Oh, you kids are lucky. I didn't have one of those till I was 40." And they look, and or, you know, "I wanted a tablet." "Oh, my parents were mean. They never let me have a tablet." And you see the gears turn. They go, "Hang on, they weren't invented when you were a kid." So
Just at those reality
it's
checks,
been an amazing period. And there was a gentleman called Nicholas Negroponte, who's a professor at MIT in the US, who wrote a book in the late 80s called On Being Digital, where he prophesied that virtually everything we touch and see in time will go from being an analog world to a digital world. So,
And it's happening, isn't it?
It has happened, really. All that music that previously was on vinyl and only available on vinyl or cassette or otherwise in analog has become digital. Photographs, which some of the I was fortunate, I'm old enough to be a black and white baby, and those photos still stack up today, yet the early colour photos have faded. But now, of course, and I remember when I was a student at university, I was keen on photography, but I was also a bit, as happens with students, a bit impoverished and a bit mean, and I'd be saying, $1, $1. You really couldn't enjoy it, but now, of course, everyone's got a camera in their pocket.
Yeah.
and you're there with friends and everyone taking selfies or catching up or taking video of things as they happen amazingly in front of you.
Yeah.
So it has been amazing. It's revolutionised the world of media and the way in which we all communicate. It's transformed the way in which we interact. So
I remember getting that feeling about technology being so readily available. Like when 9/11 happened, there were so many different angles and so much footage of it because people already had cameras. But if that had happened, say, like maybe 5 years earlier even, maybe we wouldn't have seen so much of it.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, a similar event, the JFK assassination in 1963, November 22nd, you just happened to be one gentleman, Zapruder, Mr. Zapruder, with his Super 8 camera, happened to get the film, and they could take frame by frame and work things out.
Yes, that's right.
But he was a rarity and obviously an amateur videographer. Yeah.
Luckily, of course, he was able to capture that footage there, and nowadays we've got every man and his dog and his cat. Everything's being filmed.
Not to mention surveillance. We've just got surveillance cameras installed in Woolbark as well, I believe.
Oh,
yeah, right.
So, for crime and
Yes,
that kind of thing.
CCTV.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Big Brother. We're living in Big Brother.
Well, when you look at, I suppose, books back in the day, George Orwell's 1984, and the rest of it, there's a whole bevy of them that all spoke about this Big Brother, I suppose, culture and the fear of these books that I look at as, I suppose, warning signs, that turn into reality.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the massive violence in America and how the government's using the technology companies like your Googles and so on and so forth to tap into that data. That all came out a few years ago, and it's people I think undervalue the importance of your own privacy and security online. People have a lot of public Facebook pages and aren't aware that anyone can visit your Facebook page and scroll through it readily. So make sure that your Facebook page is set to private, not public, and protect your valuable information.
I think probably a simple rule that you shouldn't say anything in private you're not prepared to say publicly.
Yeah.
We've just seen that through this last election where a number of people have said disreputable things that they're thinking among their friends, but suddenly broadcast and fortunately we have community standards that say that's not acceptable, and they really had no further part in the electoral process.
So you've got a question for Tony, Karina?
Yeah, so I want to know, what is it like to be the mayor of Yarra Ranges? What does that mean? What's sort of responsibilities?
Well, I guess, mayor is a councillor. We have 8 other councillors, 9 councillors representing all the people of Yarra Ranges, and the mayor is really just the first among equals. Each of those councillors have a voice. Collectively, we have a decision-making capacity, and the mayor's role is to essentially, on many fronts, but to foster good working relationships between the councillors, because we want to be a functional council. We want to be able to work together for the benefit of the community. If there are differences of opinion, that's fine. We need to work that through. But if for some reason, and fortunately in Yarra Ranges this hasn't happened and shouldn't happen because we're good councillors, but if there was a breakdown in those relationships, part of the role of the mayor is to make sure that those things get back on the road. Because councils are under more scrutiny than a state government or a federal government. If there is a breakdown and things aren't working, be sacked, administrators can be put in. So it's really important to make sure that things are working well. So that's one part of it, to be the spokesperson for council, and to really represent on behalf of council. But as I said, just first among equals. In terms of powers, yes, the mayor is mentioned in the Local Government Act. Has limited powers. One of them is delegated powers from the federal government to induct new Australian citizens.
Oh wow!
So we can host citizenship ceremonies, and I can welcome people to the country and say, well, congratulations, you've now taken that oath. You're now an Australian citizen.
Wow.
And that's something that only mayors can do. I can't give that to my deputy mayor, for example. But yeah, they're the main things.
Cool. All right. And how long have you been mayor?
Since last November, November the 12th.
Yeah, because this is the interesting thing. Like, since we started our project in 2017, I believe the mayor was Councillor Len Cox, and then in 2018,
Noel Cliff, then Len Cox.
Oh, it was Noel first. Yeah, so Councillor Noel Cliff in 2017. 2018 was Councillor Len Cox. Of course, now we have yourself as the mayor. So obviously, every year there's
it comes up again. Yeah, so you can decide at council whether you want to elect the mayor for 1 year or 2 years. We elect them for 1 year. and then we determine among ourselves who is the best person to be the mayor for the following period.
Wow, that's cool.
So we have deputy mayors who are there to step in as needed and support the mayor and play their part. I was deputy mayor in the last term, and I learnt a lot from Councillor Len Cox, who's been a mayor for 6 times previously, and 6 times in total, but he's also been on council for 35 years. So he's seen a lot of change. He's seen almost anything you could possibly imagine. Wealth of knowledge, very, very community-minded person, and great to work with people of that calibre.
Oh, good.
And if memory serves me correct, Len represents Walling Ward.
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah, cool. It's like a part of the Mooroolbark area, mate. So he's
the urban area. So we've, as you mentioned, I think early on in the program, the Yarra Ranges is huge, 2,500 square kilometres,
Wow.
which is bigger than some countries in the world. It's about 3 times the size of Singapore, for example.
Is it really?
And
Wow.
you've got 150,000 people dispersed across that area, and we tend to try and look at it in terms of the varied terrains. So you could say there's people in the urban areas, which is really an extension of Melbourne, and they have similar opportunities and challenges as the rest of Melbourne. Probably we're sitting at the extremity, so some of the challenges they face are the inadequate public transport that we have. We're at the end of the line or end of several train lines, and for example, it's only a single train line from Mooroolbark to Lilydale, and from Ferntree Gully to Belgrave. So we need to fill those in and duplicate the lines. Let's say it's actually the state government need to do that.
Yeah.
Council needs to advocate for that, and we certainly do. That's one example that's faced. It's the change in housing style and the densification that's happening.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the density's really increased over the last...
Yeah, we concern ourselves as councillors about, is that changing the character of neighbourhoods? Is it introducing other challenges such as parking that if these developments aren't well thought through and planned, become a negative legacy for years to come? So that's the urban areas, and then you've got the hills, which have their own challenges, and the valley. The beautiful Dandenong Ranges up in the hills. But you're talking about areas that were probably first subdivided 100 years ago, and so a lot of unsealed roads, a lot of roads that sort of plunge down the mountainside, and the drainage that goes along with that. So that's one of the challenges in that area. Beautiful, beautiful country, high bushfire risk. So those are the things to be concerned about, and a big influx of tourists who compete with residents for road space, which is a challenge. And then you at the valley and the beautiful Yarra Valley, obviously flatter, but you've also got lots of unsealed roads in that area as well. And we're seeing, particularly out along the Warburton Highway, some challenges with congestion, with competing priorities, a lot of through traffic. So how do the people on the side roads get into the road as well? Are people using some of the unsealed roads as shortcuts and impacting other people? So, you can't say there's one challenge that Yarra Ranges faces. It's different geographies have different challenges.
Yeah.
So it's
we've got
almost
to
like
work through those.
You've got the role of and responsibility of looking after 3 very separate and distinctly different demographics and geographical regions. Whereas like a council like Maroondah, for example, that look around the Croydon area, and that it's just urbanised. It doesn't take into account like the rural urban areas, the big farmlands and that kind of thing, and making sure everyone's looked after at that capacity. And as you mentioned, like 2,500 square kilometres, larger than a lot of the smaller European countries. But then you've only got 150,000 ratepayers that are contributing to the kitty to then try to fund this area that's the size of some small nations. And we're talking roads, infrastructure, drainage, the whole kit and caboodle. I don't envy your role, let's put it that way.
Yeah, it's a challenge, but we work on it together, and we have to have good plans that help us, work on those issues over time. But part of it is we need to work with the community, but we also need to work with state government and federal government. So the key role for council, and I've been doing a lot of this lately, is advocacy. So we go to the state government. We've spoken to both candidates and all the major party candidates in the most recent election, and open to everyone really to say, these are the major challenges faced by our community. If you want to help, here are areas you can help. And that's been well received, and we've had pledges that have been offered, and we'll now have to hold the successful candidate to those pledges. Yeah, to those pledges, and I believe that they've been made in good faith, and it'll just be a matter of over time when they can be delivered, because it's a 3-year term. Not everything can happen in week 1, month 1, year 1. But we need to get started, and I'll be catching up with Tony Smith before too long just to see where he's up to, and just reconnect. And because we get in this awkward situation that we'll work successfully with him and also our state members through the period, and then we go into caretaker mode, and it's as if, oh, we can't talk to you because of this caretaker mode. We've got to treat everyone equally, and we do that. And certainly I've been talking to a number of the candidates. There were 10 candidates running locally, and it's been. I guess it's tricky because we just want to have those good working relationships.
Yeah.
But they do deliver, and in the case of those unsealed roads, we ended up getting bipartisan support, which was, we're pleased that the Labor Party came to the party, but it's irrelevant now because Tony Smith and the coalition have been returned, and there's $150 million there for sealing roads in the Dandenongs and surrounds over the next 10 years.
Yeah, fantastic.
Which is really just game changing because across that 2,500 square kilometres, there's 55 townships, and each of them feel that they're special, and indeed they are, but that's just the stretch we have. And in 39 of those 55 townships, there's unsealed roads. So that's within the town boundaries.
Yeah.
We're sitting here in partly, you'd say we're in the valley, and there's towns not very far from here where people all day, every day to get to the houses have to drive on unsealed roads. So most people think if you've got an unsealed road, oh, that's for a farm. Some are off in the bush. And some of those roads will never be sealed because that's fine. They have low traffic, they serve very few people.
Yeah.
But when you've got towns, and here we are, it's almost 2020, almost a fifth of the way through the 21st century, and we've got towns, 39 towns with unsealed roads within them. And we really were probably, well, I'd say personally, I was a bit of state of despair saying, I want to get this fixed, but what can we do? We've only got limited resources. This funding changes that.
Yeah.
In a similar way, we still have about a third of the houses in Yarra Ranges that have septic systems.
Yeah.
So they're not plugged into the sewerage. It's an old way of doing things. There's risks to the environment if they're not well managed. Again, working with state government, working with Yarra Valley Water, that's being addressed as well. So we'll be able to modernise these things. It's about time, people will say, but it's a lot of money. It's a big investment, and
one of my
what you've got
biggest
to do.
concerns is probably the overpopulation, because I grew up on a farm in Dixon's Creek. So back when I was a kid, a whole 20 years ago,
She was a kid.
25 years ago, there was hardly any traffic congestion. We had enough infrastructure to sort of look after the population, but we've got so many developments. We even have the kangaroos are being pushed out. I saw a kangaroo in Mooroolbark once because of all the developments and that kind of thing. And now we've got Kinley, the new suburb.
Yeah.
It's good to obviously have growth and things like that, but the concern is, do we have the infrastructure to manage it?
And again, that's at two levels too. That's not just the council level, but there's a state level involved with that as well.
Of course.
Especially with Kinley, there I think there's talk of an additional train station there.
That's been on the cards for many years. Even with the quarry, it was always about putting a train station at the university there.
Yeah.
So they'll go do all that kind of stuff. So
We used to work at the quarry.
yeah, I used to work at I was there for 18 years. So I think it's a good thing. it's. You want that growth, otherwise you're going to end up with ghost towns, I guess, in some ways. It's
probably the traffic that just bothers me.
but the traffic isn't too bad. You go in the city where you go to China. The traffic there is insane.
Well, my mum's made so many comments because she moved to Newcastle 9 years ago, and every time she comes back, she just cannot believe how much more traffic there is each time she comes back. I suppose I'm just an old country girl, and I miss the old country quiet life.
You can move further out, to Reefton or something.
Maybe I should.
Some things change, but realistically, farms aren't going to get cut up and changed dramatically because for over 30 years, I can't remember exactly what year, we've had the green wedge in place, and we've had a regional strategy plan.
The green wedge.
Yeah, so there's a lot of land outside Melbourne. I think there's 5 or 6 zones which are green wedges radiating out from Melbourne, and they're preserved for farming purposes because we need these. It's our food bowl, it's our future, it's the lungs of the city, and so it's been the Victorian governments of various colours over time have made a great focus on preserving the green wedge, and even before that, Yarra Ranges was covered by regional strategy plan, which preserved these areas and said there couldn't be inappropriate subdivision We saw, historically what has happened in some parts where two smaller blocks were chopped up in areas that really roads shouldn't have gone and houses shouldn't have been built. And we don't want to see those mistakes happening again. And we just can't have the urban sprawl go to as far as the eye can see.
Yeah,
It has to be managed and contained.
It's good that at least
So
that,
farmland is preserved. It frustrates some people because they're saying, oh, isn't this beautiful? I'd love to live here. Can't I just cut a corner off here and put a house? It's like, well, no, because the plans say that can't happen. And even in areas where there might be a really good case to say, well, we might want to find a corner that might be very adjacent to a town and put a nursing home there because there's a shortage of aged housing. That has to be supported by that local community. It has to be supported by council. It has to be supported by the planning minister. It's then has to go through the lower house in the state parliament and be signed off by the upper house.
Yeah.
So it is very much locked down. I think some of what you're talking about in terms of within the towns, there's definitely opportunities for people to expand and grow within the urban growth boundaries.
Yeah.
And that is, I guess, to be encouraged because as a state we're growing, as a people we're growing. In this area, not radically fast, only 1-2% per year, which is fine. Like it's not crazy. That's sustainable. But it's to say, as you're pointing out, that incremental growth over time stretches the infrastructure.
Yeah.
And you get issues. So, for example, coming the direction you're talking about, the family farm, you'd be coming through Coldstream, and that's a choke point.
Yeah, it is.
And what's now happened, and this was a pledge from the coalition government, is, well, actually it was a funded promise. So even before the election, $20 million has been handed from the federal government to the state government in the form of Vic Roads to upgrade that road.
Yeah, I did
to
a
put-
report on
to
that.
put traffic lights in.
Yeah.
So that's how it happens. It's unfortunate that what seems to happen because as individuals and as families, we can move a lot faster than the whole of society. So you see things happen and things get to a point that they're at a stretch point or a breaking point. Only then do things happen because there are just so many projects you could do. It's trying to say, well, what are the most needy?
The priorities,
And so that took a lot of work from that community and others to lobby to make that happen, and that'll be addressed. Similarly, Canterbury Road. But as happens, those will get addressed, and there'll be others. There'll never be a shortage of things to do.
Yeah.
But that should improve traffic through flow and safety, which is
Good.
the key.
That's what we like to hear.
Yeah. In
Fantastic.
terms of things like Kinley, it's probably the last development opportunity in the eastern part of Melbourne.
Right.
Nowhere else could you have quite so many houses because you've got the urban growth boundaries stopping the sprawl going at the Yarra Valley,
Yeah.
the Dandenongs. And if it isn't developed, you just got this post-industrial site that's just left there.
Well, I think that is a good use of space
Yeah.
there because otherwise, what are they going to do with the quarry?
Yeah, and there's a lot of land around the quarry. They're currently working on it. The owners are filling in quite carefully in a well-planned way, filling in the quarry. It's only about 5% of the land space. So there's a lot else available. And if they're able to prove successfully to geotechnical experts and state government and local government that land is stable and prove well stable and it has to a very high threshold to get over, then they could build on that. If they can't prove that, it'll be open space.
I
sporting
think
fields.
what they're planning is having it as like a reserve because you'll never better go back on the quarry because there's a water, it actually goes all the way.
They're doing a lot of work.
Yeah.
They've put drainage in. They've done a lot of work, and as they're building it up, they're putting sensors in, so they can actually manage and measure the amount of movement as it's going along.
Yeah, because that's baffled me how they're going to make that work.
Yeah.
Like, you think the ground would just sink and sink and sink?
Well, it's all rock. It's all rock around it,
Right, yeah.
and there's a lot of overburden. So
Yeah. Well, the overburden on that side is going to go back in the pit.
yeah.
So, because they're building the houses sort of around...
But progressively they've got, I think, 5 stages. So they've
Right.
opened up stages 1 and 2.
But does it mean that their backyards are going to be like a straight wall of rock?
No.
Because they're going to try and fill it up to the top.
Oh, they're going to try and fill it
Yeah.
all the way up?
Yeah.
See, and that's the thing that sort of blew me away and surprised me
Yeah.
because not only do we have the Kinley site, the old Cave Hill Quarry, there's also the Boral Quarry on Canterbury Road, which I believe there's some movement happening with that down the track as well. And we've got these big pits and these holes, instead of just filling them up, I mean, it's taken so long to dig them, excavate them, get the resource out of them. We now have a hole there. Like just some outside of the square thinking, like for me, that would have been a prime location to put in like a seed bank or something like that, something different, underground, safe, surrounded by bedrock. So I just think it's a shame that they're just filling it up again and didn't sort of think about other ways that they could utilise that space,
I suppose that's a challenge, that most of the land in this country is privately owned. There is some land that's publicly owned, and obviously as communities and councils and governments at different levels, then you have a higher degree of control over that land. You can engage with the community and say, what's the best use of this land? What would you like as a community to do with that land? But when land's owned privately, it really is, we don't live in a communist state.
Yeah.
No, that's the nature of our existence. We need to let private individuals, within reasonable rules, do what they want with their land. We have planning controls, so you might own a house, you can't demolish it and put a factory there because you're in a residential area. So you need to say, have something sensible there. You can't put a 10-storey building in amongst an area that isn't planned for that. But if you want to put your house there and you want to paint it bright yellow, well, there's no one going to stop you from doing that. That's the sort of thing we live in. And if someone owns a piece of land, such Bora will own that quarry, it's their land to choose what to do with. I think the challenge is there, and it goes well beyond council, is that as with, say, a mining company, that there's a need for remediation. They've taken that resource out of the site. They have a responsibility to remediate the site and return it to some new natural state. And what then happens with that land needs to be negotiated with something of that level at the state government.
Excellent. Yeah, Danny, I'm keen to hear the answer to the question that you've got for Tony.
If he was a Commodore 64 or a Amiga 500 user.
Yes.
Because I mean we're fairly old, and we're around that kind of time. We did the little high school video the other day, their centenary. So it just brought back memories about what we grew up with back in the 90s and the 80s and 70s.
So Danny and I were both Lillardale High School students. So Lillardale High School celebrated their centenary over the weekend. We did a live broadcast from there. Went back to visit our old stomping ground, and all these memories came flooding back. And
so I was just curious. I was going to think of a more, I suppose, curly question, but I think it just and because of computer background and IT, so
well, it's a bit Beatles or Rolling Stones.
So
I think neither. I probably lusted after. I think a VIC 20 was probably my era, and I think I put various business plans to my father as to why I, as a Year 10 student, needed one of these. And I think the payback karma now. My children come to me with PowerPoint presentations on why they should get a dog or why they need a swimming pool. I just go, no. It's just a bit cruel. I need to find a bit more subtle method. But the answer is still no, kids. But it's probably a bit early. But I suppose my first love, if you think about it from a technology point of view, I looked at those things. There was TRS-80s. When you talk about things or the Trash 80 that, did they have floppy disks? Tiny things. Or we had Apple II.
The 5.25 inch floppy disk.
Yeah, we had a school of 1,300 people with one computer, which is Apple II. And
then the Apple IIe came along.
And then I went off to university, and they said, "Oh, your handwriting's terrible. You can go and use that computer over there." And it's like, how do I? That's like a mainframe and a weird thing. So that really wasn't the go. And then in 1984, I think things just changed. January 24th, 1984, the famous line was, "We'll show why 1984 is not going to be like 1984." And Steve Jobs introduced the Apple Macintosh to the world and unboxed this thing, and it said, "Hello." It spoke, and it had those words, and it just completely revolutionised things, because prior to that point, you just had these green screens with a black screen with a flashing green cursor, and you could do anything you like as long as you could type it, or you knew what the arcane spell was you had to cast through the keyboard was, and you had a little cheat sheet of all these, backslash, blah, blah,
commands,
blah, to do things.
CD backslash.
And here all of a sudden you had this, this mouse and a pointer, and you could see things like there's documents and there's folders, and you just drag them. So completely revolutionised the world, and I went, that's it, that's the future. That's the future, and I've got to somehow figure out how I get one of those. Now, impoverished uni student, no way I could afford one of those. So ended up working for a computer shop, so I could borrow theirs, and that was where it all started, I think. So
that's why I got into retail, computer shopping, retail, and whatnot. So you could have access to the technology really cheaply. It's the only way to get.
DOS games. Do you remember DOS games?
Yeah, but that was DOS is part of PC. So I mean,
Yeah.
we were
Like
even
Windows.
older. We were Commodore 64. So
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
you had to actually run a program. You have to type in load, rabbit
God.
ears,
Yeah.
type in the program, (8, (1), and that was loading up the floppy drive or the cassette drive, and it says press play, and you have to wait for like 20 minutes for it to the cassette to actually play it, and then yes, it's working. So that was
Run.
it was fun times.
Yeah, I think Load Runner was one of my favourite games back then.
Yeah.
Good old Load Runner, and there was one of the Olympic games, probably in the early.
Is that the one where you had to get the controller to go like
Yeah,
this?
correct. You had to wiggle your joystick to run, and,
Yeah.
and
So is this where I do the four Yorkshiremen sketch and say, "Look, Judy, where are a lad?" My first games were all text-based, so like Adventure or Zork.
yes, there you
So
go.
you're saying
Yeah.
you're in a dark cave.
Yep.
Look left.
Yes.
Yes.
Move left.
Yes.
Go up.
W just to go west.
And you had to navigate. You'd work in your head where you were because it was all
There's
text-based.
still
And
text-based games today.
But,
But
they're
there
a
you go, you
homage.
can't
Yeah, that
compare.
was.
You
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
compare.
I know.
yeah.
And
I'm an old school gamer.
I got excited when Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego came out, because there was actually pictures on the screen. It was like,
Yep.
oh. Back in the days at St
Yeah.
Mary's Primary School in Mount Evelyn, they had an Apple II.
Yeah, I remember.
Shout out to the old
I remember
guys
Apple
down
II.
there.
You had to actually to draw vectors. You had to like put in all this kind of like spells to get this kind of just to draw a triangle. Yeah, that was.
Well, I could never quite understand the Apple II in the sense, and it's all you could do with limitations at the time. You're running one application now, you want to do something different. You've got to take that floppy disk out, put a new one in, reboot the whole machine, and start again. So this whole idea of multitasking, just no one had ever thought of
Yeah.
it. And now you can sit there on your phone and you go, I'm on Facebook, I need to go and send an email, swipe, now I'm
Straight
doing an
across.
email, boom, boom,
Yeah,
boom.
it's crazy.
And no one would think anything about that. But this whole idea of you're doing this, you want to do something different? Okay. New floppy disk, reboot the whole machine, start again. But I actually have an Apple 540C at home, which must date from, I think, 1995.
Ooh, that's a
And
collector's item, that one.
It's got Microsoft Word 5.1 on it.
Yeah.
It boots in about 4 seconds, and
wow.
Word loads faster on that
Yep.
than my current model
Your PC.
Mac,
Wow.
because it only had tiny amount of memory. Everything had to be highly optimized, and things just worked really quickly. Whereas what's happened now is that because I have to keep catching myself, hang on, is it megabytes, gigabytes? Oh no, terabytes. Because there is so much memory available that programmers can be relatively lazy.
Yeah.
They can use libraries like Lego. They can build software by going this bit, this bit, this bit, assemble it all, and there's plenty of hardware capacity just to run it, even if it's not particularly optimal. Whereas when that first Mac came out, they were writing in assembler code. So they were writing in zeros and ones and the like, because they had so little memory to play with, and memory was so expensive. They just had to make that work. But it meant that probably code was better
More efficient.
and much more efficient. And so we are where we are today. But it's quicker now for software to be generated and to be revised and enhanced, and a lot of it's delivered over the web.
So I'd like
Different world.
One more quick fun question, and then we'll have a quick chat about what I suppose some of the highlights for the council coming up. But I would love to know, Tony, what is currently on your playlist? What are you listening to at the moment?
Well, it's Monday, so I'll have to wait till Spotify gives me this week's picks.
Oh, okay.
So,
governed by Spotify.
Yeah, it's really good because you go, I haven't heard that song in ages, or why have I never heard that song? So, I think people talk about like it's the jukebox in the sky,
Yeah.
and you've just got so much music. So I'm not sure. I do need to do it. I notice if I get to about Thursday or Friday and I haven't played those tracks, I'm going, it's been in one of those weeks. I need to get that music.
So you like a
But I
like
was-
a Pink Floyd, or you like a Justin what's his name?
Justin Timberlake?
Yeah.
No, I think that my music, I think it probably happens to many people. The mind is like a sponge,
Yeah.
and your musical taste is like that. And once it's fully absorbed, you sort of look at it all, and then you just go, all this other new music, it's either not really music, it's rap spelt with a silent C,
Yes,
or,
that's what I say.
or it's all derivative. It's all, they're just copying what was done 20, 30
Yeah.
years ago. So, yeah, I'm probably about 10 years older than I am physically in my musical tastes. But I was at the Yarra Ranges Music Council yesterday. I'm not into classical music as such, but I was completely blown away that they had their youth awards and they had the young people come in to collect awards, but to do small performances. and we have the most amazing, talented people in our area. For someone to sit down and you go, okay, well, how's this going to be? Because I've been to school concerts and you know, parents are sitting there, you know, grinning and bearing it while little Johnny doesn't quite hit the notes and the like, and have someone, you know, do that and you go, okay, what's this going to be like? And they've just played probably 5 minutes, some really complex John Sebastian Bach fugue. That I only know that from reading the program, don't really know much about music. But have just played it all from memory. It'd be like reciting pi to 2,000 places. Flawless, huge speed, and just like, and the only frustrating thing was there were probably the parents, the board members, and a couple of members of the community. Absolutely mind-blowing.
There to experience it, yeah.
And it was really good because you know, I probably spent too much time reading the papers, trying to make sense of what happened in the federal election and what it means for the future of the country. And I was in that sort of analytical mode. I needed something different, and that was it. So, yeah, the power of music.
Yeah, and it's, I think classical is certainly to be experienced in person. It's one thing hearing it on the radio or, you know, streamed or whatever, but when you're there and you're actually not just hearing it, but you're feeling the notes floating through the air and the vibrato. I'm sure the hair would have stood up on the back of your neck, I'm sure.
Oh, and then, yeah, there were just so many, you know, piano, violin, trumpet. Sensational. But no, I'll let you know what I'm playing when Spotify tells me.
Send me a text.
Yeah, it's good. I don't have to decide. It's going to tell me what my music is. Like, oh, I don't really like that one next.
I love Spotify. So good.
So just in finishing up, I can't believe the time has just flown. It's we've got to bring this one to a close. But what's the latest and greatest exciting things happening at council that you can share with us?
I think it's really just now into implementation. So we've been very fortunate working with state and federal government. We've got a lot of projects on the road, on the go. The funding's there. Things such as the Yarra Valley Trail, I think work started on that. So that's the link from Lilydale to Yarra Glen. And that'll be a rail trail, so walking, cycling, that type thing. And that just opens up new opportunities there. So that's starting. More work continuing on the Warburton mountain bike destination. So that's constant work on the master planning. There's been work engaging with the local Warburton community to say, well, how do we bring more people to town, because that's needed, more life is needed, but how do we do it in a way that is sustainable and doesn't adversely impact the town? So there's been a Warburton Place plan underway. Exciting things happening. We've got just thinking coming down the highway, we've got the Seville toilet and change facilities. Just about finished. So
practical things as well, you know.
Yeah. So that's really important. You go, well, how can you get excited by toilets? Well, it's so popular there at the Seville water play park and the playground there, and it sort of grew beyond anyone's expectations. So the current toilets are inadequate, and that's caused issues. And you've got the netballers there, and also the female footballers don't have change facilities readily at hand. So it'll deliver both of those, which is fantastic.
Fantastic, yeah.
So there's always something on the go. It just depends where you are in the area. We've got our budget that's coming down, and people are welcome to come along. And I think submissions might be closed on that at this stage, but they can certainly review it and provide feedback. And you know, that's what we have to do. We're probably in a way a bit short of feedback.
That's one of the questions I was going to get to too. Is if our viewers want to, of course, engage with council, you know, make comment, because I believe there's the transport survey taking place.
Yeah, integrated transport strategy. Yeah.
That's wrapping up shortly as well. So if you have any ideas or suggestions in regards to transport needs, requirements, impacts of transport across the board in the Yarra Ranges, the website, I'm just saying, is probably the best way.
Yeah, go to the Yarra Ranges Council website, have a look in the news section. There's always, every week there'll be something new there to look at. But we really we try to do the very best we can for the community, but it can only be based on what people are telling us. And in this case, the integrated transport strategy, council doesn't deliver a lot in the way of transport. We can do footpaths and cycleways and local roads, but mainly it's to get a very cohesive picture so that we can then go and influence state government and federal government to say, these are the pain points. This is where people are struggling. This is what we need to fix so that we can have the very best for the community.
Fantastic. So make sure you go to www.yarraranges.vic.gov.au. There's many ways to engage with council, of course, via the website. There's heaps of mailing lists you can sign up to. There's the What's On mailing list and just general information there as well. There's a regular publication that council puts out for the 3 different regions, of course, that the council looks after, whether you're urban, hills or the valley. Is that a monthly, bi-monthly?
Monthly.
It's a monthly publication with lots of information, of course, with the finger on the pulse of what council has been up to, of course. So for more information, go to yarraranges.vic.gov.au. Yarra Ranges Mayor Councillor Tony Stevenson, it has been a pleasure.
Just but ask, do you think there'll ever be a train line in Hillsville?
Going back through?
Yeah.
Train line?
Yeah, train line. I mean, it's going to be, I don't think it's never on the cards, but I mean, it would just be really interesting to see if the train line will ever go back to Hillsville or go towards, Wandon or that kind of area.
No, it doesn't seem that way because trains are a bit inflexible in the sense that they're big units that are good for moving lots of people at a single point in time. Whereas once you're getting into areas like Hillsville, about 11,000 people live in Hillsville. Many of those people will go to Lilydale to commute into the city. What we need to do is work with the local bus companies to come up with better bus schedules and find ways of dealing with that, because the buses are actually more flexible. If people need to travel a different time, if the funding's there to run them, of course, you can do that. But really, trains are going to be there for the bigger volumes of people. To justify it, we'd have to triple the population of Hillsville, and no one's suggesting we should do that. It would really destroy the character of that beautiful country town. So I think the trains were justified at a point when they were used for goods, and that was before there were trucks readily available. And so things will change, but we'll see more autonomous vehicles coming into play. We'll see micro transport in a way that people will be able to do dial-on-demand types of things. Not this year, not next year, but you can see all the pieces coming into play that would support that. But I think another way to look at it is to say we currently have a model which says everyone needs to converge on the centre of the city or in a city for their job. We've got the technology that says we don't need to do that. So we actually have a society that still has that mindset as if we have to meet physically face to face to do business or to learn or do work. And we just got to change that because our technology and we're still rolling out an NBN, and there's probably areas that will need further boosting post the initial rollout. But that is a real game changer. So instead of people in Hillsville feeling they have to go off to the city to do their work,
utilise the technology.
Stay in Hillsville.
Yes.
And do your work. And you could be, as happens, I think you've done this. You could be doing work for people anywhere in the world.
I do work for Japan, and and even like uploading the midweek wrap and stuff like that. It's so good because we're with the NBN, and we can just.
You're with the NBN.
I'm with the NBN. Yes, I can upload a 1 gig file in like 5 minutes. It's amazing. Whereas before,
I've got to do a 1 gig file overnight.
Well, I think the average commute is somewhere around 45 minutes to an hour each way across major cities like Melbourne and say Sydney. And I think once you're further out on the Yarra Valley, it's bigger than that. And that's really, you can catch up with a book, you can watch movies, a lot of things you do now, you've got devices, etc. But it's not really productive time. And it takes time away from families, it takes time away from people participating in the community. We rely so much as a society on volunteers to play a role, whether it's in sports or whether it's a local museum or a music society, land care groups. We'd be really lost without these volunteers doing so much. But if their only job is a long way away from home in the city and they're losing so much time commuting, then that's a loss to them personally. It's very fatiguing, speaking from experience, and they can end up being hollowed out by those long commutes. If we can have the local jobs, if we can have people local, then they can play a role in their children's school or in their communities, working with senior citizens or working with a local land care group or friends of group, going to the netball training after school because they can slice and dice their work to do that. It's so much better if we can have that happening rather than people losing so much to commuting.
And thank you for the reminder, of course. Tony just triggered me. It's National Volunteers Week throughout the country, of course. We have a plethora of volunteers that work so long and hard within our community, whether it's delivering meals, working with the aged, the young, of course, the homeless, the sick, and so on and so forth. So thank you, of course, to all those volunteering in our community, whether it's emergency services, SES, CFA, and the rest. If you know a volunteer, pat them on the back and thank them for their time and their service, of course, because they contribute so much to the well-being and, of course, our safety and so on and so forth here in the Valley and the Ranges. So thank you to all the volunteers, and log on to National Volunteers Week website and get involved. If you want to volunteer, there's also, you can volunteer via the Yarra Ranges Council website. There's a special volunteering segment and page as part of the website. I was wrapping up before.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Tony, for sharing
Really
your
good.
insight into council, of course, and having a bit of a casual chat with us here on at home, of course, on our podcast here at Yarra Ranges Live TV. Karina Stone, as always, our wonderful co-host and wing woman. Can't wait to see you live again. We had some fun at the Big Dreams Market
We did, yeah,
on
that was
Mother's
lovely.
Day. It's always fun to go live with you.
Yes, and I'll be taking over for a week coming up.
You will.
I'll be taking over. It'll be just you and me, Danny.
Oh.
Okay.
So Pat's going to have a bit of a break.
Yeah, I'll be taking a week off in the next 2 or 3 weeks, so I won't have access to technology. I'm unplugging completely.
Brilliant.
Bit of a
Detox, digital detox.
Well, a bit of a digital detox, also a bit of a physical detox as well, and get some positive things back into the body, so to speak, and recharge the batteries. So
Yep, I'm looking forward to taking over.
I know you
Ooh.
are. You're.
Careful what you wish for.
She's got the whip ready for
What are your
Danny.
plans? What are you
So
planning?
I'm going to take over. See you, Pat.
Be seeing me some shopping and
Oh yeah, I'll do a makeup tutorial.
yes.
Karina, Life TV.
I'll do a segment on my cats. Don't you worry, I've got it under
You've
control.
got it. You've got it
YouTube
stuffed.
loves cats.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw our last podcast. Karina's actually got a tattoo of a cat.
Oh,
Oh
Her
yes,
cat.
On
that
of
was
my cat on my leg.
okay.
upper leg.
That's
Upper
committed.
leg.
They call me crazy cat leg.
No, okay.
I'm not crazy, I promise.
My eldest daughter has a dog tattoo of her dog, so
Oh, there you go.
yeah.
Yeah,
Not
it's
so
not
crazy.
uncommon.
See,
Okay.
there you
Yeah.
go.
Of course, Daddy, we had a Chockers weekend. We went to Montrose Market. We went to Japara Community House for National Community House Week. We also went to Liddell High School for their centenary, of course. And then we finished up at Warratina Lavender Farm, who've got the Patchwork Quilt exhibition. That was all last weekend. Yesterday, because today's Thursday when we publish this, yesterday was a midweek wrap. We always film that on a Tuesday, get it up for you guys on a Tuesday night or a Wednesday. So always lots on Yarra Ranges Live TV, lots of hyper-local content, of course, and the midweek wrap is the only hyper-local news and weather program for the Yarra Valley and the Ranges. This week was episode 98. 98.
Wow.
Close to that 100th episode.
Yeah, I've got
Are
a
you going to be
feeling-
here for the 100th, or are you going to do the 100th?
Wow.
We might delay the 100th.
Yeah.
We might have a week off of production.
'Cause I'll be in the
of
Gold
wrap.
Coast filming
Yeah, you're heading
there.
off to the Gold Coast
Yeah.
shortly.
So,
So there'll
might
be 1 week gap there, and then when you
Yeah.
come back, probably the 100th will be the week that I'm back. Fingers crossed.
well,
Nice and
we
refreshed.
should do it because it's going to be June anyway, so it'd be good to have a bit of a few weeks break and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So
Yeah.
we'll do that.
Need some downtime.
And I'm filming middle of June anyway, so
Perfect.
yeah, so we'll work it out. We'll suss it out.
Thank you again, Tony.
Yep.
No,
Karina?
welcome. No, it was
Yes, thank
great to
you.
catch you guys.
I
Thanks.
learned a lot today.
Lying on the couch.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. As always, of course, you guys have been watching at home on Yarra Ranges Live TV, a bit of a behind-the-scenes podcast with the crew and a special guest, our guest this week, of course, Mayor of the Yarra Ranges, Councillor Tony Stevenson. Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to like it, share it, and comment down below. If you've got any interesting topics or would like to find out something else about the Yarra Valley and the Ranges, leave your comments below and we can always invite those guests along. I know that we've got Amina one, fantastic people out there doing some fantastic things that will love to join us on the couch. So,
Yes.
yeah, looking forward to the next
It's
one.
very comfy.
Good on you. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, guys. And thanks for watching. We'll see you guys for our next podcast in a couple of weeks' time. Cheers. We'll see you then.